Welcome to Film 5D, the show about everything film and video with the Sony a7S II. I'm your host, Aaron Hemmick, and this week I give you my top 5 favorite features about the newly announced Sony a6500. Now initially, I was going to do my episode on my YouTube export settings, but on Thursday they announced the new Sony a6500 and the Sony RX100 Mark V. So I figured, why not keep up with the tradition and give you my top 5 favorite features about the new cameras. Now today I'm going to be starting out with one of the ones I'm most interested in, and also the successor to the a6300, the APS-C E-mount camera Sony a6500. Now, as always, just a quick disclaimer, I do not own this camera, nor have I used it. This video is purely to give you the top 5 features that I'm personally most excited about for this new camera. Though I have used the a6300 in the past, so I'll be comparing the two at the end to see whether or not this warrants an upgrade. So with that out of the way, I'll start right off with my first favorite feature, the 4K. Actually, I mean not the 4K, for once, because Sony has finally, and I mean finally, included touchscreen. In fact, let's just jump back to my episode about the A99 2 weeks ago. All I can say is, please, Sony, include touchscreens on your next crop of digital cameras, and then you're just gonna blow everybody out of the water. So there you have it. Sony clearly watches my show and was able to turn around the touchscreen technology in under 3 weeks for their cameras moving forward. I mean, hopefully. But all kidding aside, the implementation of touchscreen does 2 things right off the bat, at least in my eyes. 1, the ability to touch for focus, something that we're all used to by now with our smartphones, and 2, easy menu navigation. That second one is key for me. The menu navigation was one of the things I envied most about the Panasonic GH4. The ability to quickly access settings buried deep in the menu is key. Not to mention the new menu design, but more on that later. The ability to focus by just pressing on the screen is not a feature to be ignored at all. I mean, the fact that you just couldn't do it before on previous Sony cameras definitely had a lot of users, including myself, frustrated. In fact, if you're using the OLED viewfinder, you can use the touchscreen as a tracking pad, which I think could be totally awesome, especially for video when you're trying to track subjects to keep them in focus or switching focus between subjects. Though I'm not the biggest fan of touchscreens in general with laptops and things of that nature, I definitely have come to expect this feature when it comes to taking pictures, and I definitely applaud Sony for making that happen. But on to my second favorite feature of the a6500, the 4K. And I mentioned the a6300's 4K capabilities briefly in my episode about the A99 too, and honestly, not much has changed from the previous version. We're still getting full pixel readout, and the 4K is being recorded on the full width of the Super 35mm frame, just cutting off the top and bottom to get that 16:9 video frame. So once again, we're recording a 6K image at 6000 by 3376 pixels and squishing it down to the 3840 by 2160 4K format. This means that the 4K on the a6500, just like its predecessor, the a6300, will be super detailed without the negative side effects like moire or aliasing, because there's no pixel binning whatsoever. Now, I'm not suggesting that this will look more filmic than the A7S is for video, like I've seen some of you suggesting in the comments, but that level of detail is definitely superior to the A7S. But moving on to my third favorite feature about the Sony a6500, the in-body image stabilization, which I believe when combined with the Sony's OSS lenses, like some of the ones I have, will actually be 5-axis stabilization. This is such a great addition to any camera really, but especially in the case of the a6500, because I mean, when you think about that level of detail you're getting with the 4K, you really want that sharpness to hold up, and nothing helps with that more than having IBIS. Not to mention that Sony was able to add this feature to the new camera without making the camera significantly bigger really in any way. Keeping it nice and small was definitely key. Moving on to number 4, the new Bionz X image processor with front-end LSI. Now, I'm not going to bore you with the details about this new upgrade, but I just equate it to getting a new processor that comes out with every new iPhone. Now, there's going to be some improvements in noise reduction and color reproduction, but unless you're putting the 6300 and the 6500 side by side, I mean, honestly, you're probably not going to see that much of a difference. Given that, I'll also combine the upgraded processor with the upgraded buffer, which they're touting as being able to capture 307 pictures in a row, nearly 35 seconds of burst photography at 11 FPS without stopping. And when you combine this with the already industry-leading AF system with the 425 phase detection points and the astounding focus speed of 0.05 seconds, this could definitely work as an action sports photography camera for sure for all those Sony alpha shooters out there. And finally, number 5. Honestly, this one could potentially relate to all Sony cameras, at least some of the new ones, the newly designed and optimized menu. Now, this menu revamp is rumored to be coming to all new Sony cameras, but the a6500 will be special here because it gets to combine the new menu system and the touchscreen. And what I see from other message boards, videos, and especially just in my experience, two of the biggest complaints that users had about Sony cameras was the lack of touchscreen and a counterintuitive menu system. Well, I think that Sony has definitely found their answer with the a6500, but let me know what you think about this camera. Let me know in the comments below. Give me one feature that maybe you love about this new camera, and maybe a feature that you wish they had included. But before I go, I just wanted to quickly give you an overview of some of the features that both the a6300 and the a6500 share, and the additional features that come with the new a6500, to see if it's warranted to get an upgrade, or if you're thinking about getting one or the other, like myself, seeing whether or not the a6500 is worth that extra $400. So both have that amazingly detailed 4K I mentioned before, and both have the super fast 0.05 second AF with the 425 phase detection points, but the a6500 adds a touchscreen, a revamped menu, and the 5-axis stabilization. So really, it's up to you whether or not those new features, those three that I just mentioned, are actually gonna add up to $400 for you. But for me personally, I really think that I'll be getting the a6500 to support my a7S II. Really, I think that the 5-axis stabilization alone is worth the upgrade. But hey, that's just my opinion. If you enjoyed this content, please support my channel by liking this video, and send any questions you have to me on Twitter at FilmIn5D. I'll see you next time with my top 5 features of the RX100 Mark V. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button on screen for weekly videos and tutorials. Also, if you want to read more about the new a6500, head on over to my blog post on my website at filmin5d.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.